text by Joseph Murphy, the great Joseph Murphy. If you don't want to stick to the end with me for the full length of this text, you can go directly to the end of the video where there will be a quick summary and a commentary on this particular text. That being said, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and also hitting that bell button. I appreciate the support and it helps my channel grow tremendously. Thank you so much. Now let's get into it. Supreme Mastery of Fear by Joseph Murphy. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Psalm 27:1. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of this tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. Psalm 27:5. Who is your Lord and Master this very moment? Your Lord is your predominant mental attitude. It is your conviction or belief about yourself, people, and things. This Lord can be a tyrant. For example, if your mood is now one of resentment, that is your Lord or tyrant that governs all of your actions and all of your phases of your life. If you want to invest some money, buy a new home or some property, while in this attitude you will do the wrong thing and say the wrong thing because your predominant mood is negative. The law is as within, so without. You are fearing your God and you will react negatively. Fear is a lack of faith or trust in God, which is a denial of His omnipotence. The Lord is my light and my salvation. The Lord referred to is the Lord God, or the law of good or God. To put the law of good into operation, thereby banishing fear once and for all, and throwing in your mind the thoughts of power, courage, and confidence. These thoughts will generate a corresponding mood or feeling, which will banish the arch enemy of your success and health. Fear, this self-made enemy of yours, must be completely destroyed before the Lord God can shine through you. Your fear is the cloud that hides the sunshine of God. Men have made personal devils out of fear of the past, the present, and the future. It is our attitude toward life that determines the experience we have to meet. If we expect misfortune, we shall have it. Knowing the law of God or good, the truth student expects only good fortune. The word is not harsh. The world is not harsh. It may seem to be because we fail to affirm or claim the presence of God. Men fear criticism so much that many of their most beautiful thoughts never see the light of day. To the man who believes that God is the only presence and the only power, there is no past. He knows that if he believes in the power of the past, he is disbelieving in God. God is the eternal now. There is no future and no past in God. There is the gospel, the good tidings. There is no such thing as past karma. There is only man's foolish false belief in it. Now is the day of salvation. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Your good, your health, and your success are here now. Feel the reality of them. Thrill to them. Enter into the conviction that you are now the being you long to be. The only guilt there is the consciousness of guilt. If your sins are as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Though red like crimson, they shall be as wool. This is the good news. The only moment that matters is the present. You can live only in the now, experience in the now, plan in the now, and think in the now. Whatever you are planning or dreading, you are planning it now. When you realize that every form of lack and limitation is the result of your wrong thinking and feeling, you shall know the truth that sets you free. The mountains will be removed. Aboriginal tribes and primitive man feared nature. Modern man fears his fellow man. To a great extent, we have dispelled the ghosts of ancient days. We have combated the plagues and we will soon control the elements. Man is doped by modern propaganda. Some men are afraid to live and afraid to speak. Mothers' fears for their children. All this due to superstitious belief that there is another power to challenge God. The only evil there is due to lack of knowledge of the laws of life. If we put our hand on an open wire, we get a shock, but if it is an insulated property, we do not. The evil or shock was due to our ignorance, yet any man will admit that electricity is not evil. It blesses humanity in countless ways. Electricity is used to play music, drive train, fry eggs, vacuum the floors, and light the world. Evil or fear is our misapplication and incomplete comprehension of the omnipresence of God and good. Where fear is, love cannot be, for error cannot dwell with understanding. The wealthy fear they are going to lose, the poor fear they shall not gain. The only wealth and the only security are found in the consciousness in which we abide. If we are conscious of being wealthy, nothing in all the world can stop us from being prosperous in our bodies and affairs. The things men fear are unreal. Only the one alone is real. Only the one alone is law. Only the one alone is truth. The jungle doctor of old has passed on many of his superstition. Consequently, countless cults today instill fear into the mind of many individuals. Let us face the facts. The cause of most fear is man's fear of his fellow man. Many men pray together on Sunday and pray on each other on Monday. The answer to the fear problem is understanding. All fear is due to ignorance. In order to express harmony, we must think and feel harmonious thoughts. When we enter into the mood of success, confidence, and happiness, we will express similar results in all phases of our life. When a man knows that every form of discord, sickness, and lack is due to wrong thinking, he will know the truth that sets him free. Learn to imagine the thing desired and then feel the reality of the state sought. This is the easiest and quickest way to get results. Some get results by convincing themselves of the truth, that God is the only presence and the only power. This is one of the most wonderful things in all the world to know. Regardless of the cause of the fear, you have no one to treat or heal but yourself. You have to convince yourself that you are now expressing life, love, and truth. Let us not fear anything or anybody. Let us be busy radiating courage, confidence, and power. In this way, we'll crush all obstacles in our path and the mountains will be cast into the sea. We are one with infinite power. If we say we are weak or infirm, we are telling a falsehood about God. Fear turns the love of God or good away from us in the same way that a poverty consciousness attracts poverty in health, money, business, and love relationships. Man must stop preaching fear to his fellow man and unite in teaching all the truth. The truth is that there is no hell, devil, purgatory, limbo, or damnation of any kind. Moreover, there is no past karma for which we must expiate here. There is no future evil. God is the eternal now. There is one of the most dramatic and significant statements in the whole Bible. Now is the day of salvation. This very moment, all that you do is turn to God and claim for yourself that which you long to be. Accept it, believe it, and go thy way rejoicing. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though red like crimson, they shall be as wool. Forgive till 70 times 7. This day thou shalt be with me in paradise. Let us stop instilling fear into the minds of the youth. Let us teach them the real facts. We must not preach religious tolerance except we live it. We must teach the truth. We must not distort the truth so that we may hold a position, because we are afraid that the people will not come back. This type of fear results in spiritual stagnation and frustration. We must keep our eye on the kingdom of heaven, not upon the kingdom of earth. We must teach men to know the truth, and the truth shall make him free. The truth is man is believed expressed. There is no fear where faith in God rules. There is no fear of man where integrity rules in one's consciousness. There is no fear of criticism where the consciousness of kindliness enters into the mind of man. Religion is goodwill in action or application of the golden rule. We have seen, therefore, that fear is man's basic weakness, and it is based solely on our ignorance. In time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion, in the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. The pavilion is a canopy or covering. This means the covering shall be the garment of God, mood of good. Think about God. Begin to ask yourself, what does God mean to me? Realize that God, or I am, is the life in you, your own consciousness, and it is omnipotent. For example, if a man is in prison, he automatically desires freedom. God and good are synonymous. He begins to think of this infinite power and wisdom within him. He knows that he has ways of freedom which he knows not of. He imagines therefore the opposite, which is freedom. Though he is behind bars, in meditation he imagines that he is at home talking to his loved ones. He hears familiar voices and feels the welcoming kisses of his children on his cheek. This is hiding in a pavilion. The prisoner actualizes this state by feeling the joy of being at home. It is possible to rise high enough in consciousness in 5 or 10 minutes to bring about a subjective conviction. This is the meaning of, in the secret of this tabernacle shall he hide me. The law is, whatever is impressed is expressed. Consequently, the prison doors are open for him in ways that he knows not of. My ways are past finding out. We read in the scriptures, fear not, little flock. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Jesus tells us that this kingdom is within us. This kingdom of heaven or harmony is within every one of us. Infinite wisdom, divine intelligence, and infinite power are available to all men because God is within them and He is the very light of them. Anyone can prove to himself that the kingdom of God, heaven is at hand. It is right here now. Jesus saw it and lived in it. We are colorblind. That is why we do not see it. The blindness is due to ignorance and fear. We are blinded by centuries of false beliefs, superstition, creeds, and dogmas. True truth is so shrouded by false dogmas that we have created God and a heaven of our own making. God is to us what we believe Him to be. Man is created a horrendous creature in disguise. He visualizes a God of caprice and vengeance, or an inscrutable being who sends wars, plagues, etc. We create our own hell and our own heaven based upon our concept of God. Anyone can prove that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Let me tell you the story of a young girl who proved it. She was living with a father who came home drunk every night and sometimes treated her brutally. She lived in constant fear of her father. She kept house for him. Due to frustration, her face was covered with acne. We are not living with people, we are living with our concept of them. Realizing this truth, the girl in meditation closed her eyes and dwelt on the power within her. She no longer clothed her father in the garment of mood of a drunkard. Instead, she saw a loving, kind father who had perfect balance, poise, and equilibrium. She clothed him in righteousness, and her judgment was a robe and a diadem, which means that she saw her father as he ought to be. The fact that her father was drinking heavily meant that he was seeking escape to conceal an inferiority complex or a subjective sense of love. In other words, he was trying to run away from himself. This girl spoke the word which healed him. She relaxed her whole body, closed her eyes, and began to say to herself, "How would I feel if my father were loving, kind, and peaceful?" She dwelt on the solution, which generated a mood of peace and confidence and joy within her. She was clothing him in righteousness. Her judgment was a robe and a diadem. When you pass judgment, you come to a decision. It is the final verdict, and you are the judge passing judgment. As I hear, I judge. Her verdict was an inner hearing of feeling, wherein she saw her father smiling, happy and joyous. She imagined he was telling her how wonderful he felt and that he had found peace, balance, and poise. She also heard him telling her how wonderful she was. She thrilled to the fact that her father was healed and made whole. He wore a seamless robe, no holes, no patches, and no seams. This means she meditated on the mood of love, peace, and oneness with her ideal. All doubts and fears were absent. Judgment as the diadem means she gave beauty for ashes, which signifies that she saw beauty in her father and felt it. Beauty was expressed on the screen of space. After 1 week's treatment, her father was completely healed. Moreover, he was a changed man. His attitude was completely transformed, and they are devoted to each other. She proved the kingdom of heaven, harmony and peace is at hand now. What are we afraid of? If God be for us, who can be against us? The thing you fear does not exist. If God be for us, who can be against us? The thing you fear does not exist. For example, a man lives in fear that his business will fail. His business is not failing, neither is he in bankruptcy. Business is as usual, and it will be booming. The failure does not exist save is his imagination. Job said, "What I fear most has come upon me." Job is every man who walks the earth. Therefore, as the successful businessman continues to sustain the mood of failure, sooner or later his mood crystallizes into a subjective condition or impression. Any feeling impressed on the subconscious mind is made manifest by an immutable law of life. The subconscious, being impersonal and no respecter of a person, says John wants to fail in business. So it proceeds in ways that he, John, knows not of to bring his failure to pass. Everyone realizes that he brought this failure on himself through imagination and feeling. I knew a lady who read of an aeroplane wreck. She was contemplating a trip by air to Los Angeles, but she lived in fear of an accident. A negative thought cannot do you any harm, except if it is energized by a charge of fear. It must be emotionalized before it becomes subjective. This lady did not know what she was doing. She was ignorant of the laws of life. This ignorance is the cause of all our accidents and misfortunes. Having imagined herself in an aeroplane accident and having emotionalized this negative thought with fear, it became a subjective state. When she took the trip 2 months later, she had the accident that she knew she would have. If a woman fears her husband is going to leave her, this is how she conquers her moods. The fear is a negative feeling which is communicated to him. If he does not know the laws of life, her conviction of him will be made manifest. In other words, he will do the thing she feared he would do because this was her conviction of him. Instead of this fear, she supplants by seeing her husband radiating peace, health, and happiness. In meditation, morning and night, she radiates the mood of love and peace and feels that her husband is the most wonderful man in all the world. She feels that he is loving, kind, and devoted. She imagines he is telling her how wonderful she is and how free and balanced she is. Her mood of fear is now changed to a mood of love and peace. This is the fear of God moving in her behalf. As she continues to do this, the mood gels within her. She now knows he never failed it, and that perfect love casted out her fear. Our daily prayer, our daily mood must be one of joyous expectancy or confident expectancy of all good things. This is our greatest prayer. If we expect the best will come to us. It is our mood that is vital. The modern metaphysician of today teaches that God is the life principle within man. If you feel full of confidence and trust, this is the movement of the Spirit of God within you, and it is all powerful. None shall stay its hand and say unto it, "What does though man's own consciousness is God, there is no other God." By consciousness is meant existence, life, and awareness. You, the reader, know that you exist. This knowing that you exist is God. What you are aware of is your concept of God. Each man must ask himself, what am I aware of? The answer to this question is his belief about God. It is what he knows about God when he says, "I am aware of one, I am fearful, I am sick." These are lies and have no truth in them. When a man says, "I am fearful," he is saying God is full of fear, which is nonsensical. When he says, "I am in want," he is relating a lie and a denial of God's abundance and infinite supply. His faith is in failure, and he succeeds in being a failure. He believes in a lie, but he cannot prove the lie. The false condition seems real as long as he dwells upon it. When he ceases to believe it, he is free and healed. And this is this wonderful little text by the great Joseph Murphy. Now, I have to say, this text is very, very Neville Goddard-esque, so to speak. And from what I heard, I don't know if it's true 100%, but I did read somewhere that Neville Goddard and his contemporary Joseph Murphy both had the same mentor at one point, the great Abdullah. I don't know if it's true because I only read it in one place, but apparently, obviously, Neville Goddard was a real mentee of Abdullah. Apparently, Joseph Murphy met Abdullah briefly, but still had time to learn under him. But I digress. This text is really amazing, and why I've always said that even though I love Neville Goddard, I've always preferred Joseph Murphy a bit more, because it speaks to me much more, I would say, because it's just easier and more straightforward. Even though Neville Goddard is also really deep and also very sophisticated, sometimes you have to put aside all these parables of Christianity and Catholicism, and because he relies heavily on the Bible, which is why I'm saying that this text, the one I just read, is very Neville Goddard, because he does. Joseph Murphy always talks about God, and all the people at this time. Napoleon also always talks about God. During those times, everybody was Catholic, and religion was more prevalent, so it is completely understandable. That's why I always say that you have to put all this Bible vernacular aside and rely much more on the essence of behind those words, instead of the way you might label them as not atheist, Christian, Catholic. That those etiquettes and those labels don't matter so much as the words and the essence behind the words. That being said, these texts focus mostly on the mindset of fear, and more specifically the mindset of getting rid of fear. It's not do the thing you fear and the fear will disappear, although this is indirectly a good way of dealing with fear as well. This is to completely have the fear vanish inside by replacing all those thoughts of fear with thoughts of, as he said, confidence, expectancy, or joyous expectancy, which is a really good way of saying it, because we all think, and even though that's what he said in the text, that a lot of people, and I think a lot of people mistake joyous expectancy to always being happy, which is impossible. And I think a lot of people have to understand this, and it's not only in the law of attraction and the Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy community. I think it's in the whole self-help industry that you have to be 100% happy all times. I think people have mistaken this because obviously the happiness industry is very big nowadays, so being happy is trendy, but by saying things that happiness is key, joy is free, stuff like this, we tend to feel like shit if we don't feel happy. And even worse when we talk about techniques and principles of the law of attraction, because if you believe in those premises, you would believe that if you're not happy 100% of the time, you would fail, right? And I remember it was not such a long time ago, maybe a year or so, even a year or two ago, I was trying, I'm not even joking, it's ridiculous, but it's true. I was trying my best to, I was trying to be happy at all times. The feeling of happiness, it's impossible. Like, it's not even possible for few hours, let alone a whole day, let alone a whole life. And what I mean by that is the feeling of joy. You cannot be joyful at all the time. Don't get me wrong. You can be neutral, you can be equanimous. By that I mean you can be at peace and have clarity. And that's this from my Buddhist background and I come from meditation, Vipassana meditation. So I really know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. Happiness, the happiness we talk about is not the happiness of the feeling. A feeling is always fleeting. By definition, everything is transient in its nature, right? So a feeling is always transient. So a feeling of joy might be replaced by a neutral feeling, might be replaced by a sad feeling, might be replaced by anger, might be replaced by countless other feelings. That being said, having equanimity and having peace the joy we get from peace is very different, and this can be everlasting, so to speak. Because when you are at peace, you are okay with all the feelings that you have. And yes, when you do those principles, and when you meditate, when you pray, when you visualize, when you do your affirmation, it is good to have happy feelings. Nor are they needed, but it's good to have a happy feeling. But you can also be very neutral. I most of the time, even when I practice loving and kindness meditation, and it works very well for me, and this is a Buddhist type of meditation, I'm not most of the time just very neutral. Sometimes I'm very, very happy and very, very loving and caring, but this feeling doesn't master itself necessarily easily, nor does it need to, because the feeling can come during the day when you're not even meditating, which is great. The thing is obviously not to pray with negativity, and by I mean is like not to have contradictory or feelings that contradict or are negative towards what you want, because that will by definition impede what you want to have happen in your life, what you really want to have happen in your life. That's why we need to, as Abraham Hicks said, we need to choose a better feeling thought. And I think even though I'm mostly sticking to the teachings of Goddard and Murphy and also Napoleon Hill, and also to a certain extent Louis Hay, Abraham Hicks, like I have to pace myself when I listen to. I've listened to a lot of her videos, I practice some of her stuff, even though I think her stuff is great, but it is too, how should I put it? It is not as straightforward as I would want it to be, and I find it a bit too complicated for what it is. And then again, I have nothing against Abraham Hicks, that's my interpretation, and everybody has different tastes, right? My taste for Abraham Hicks is not as attuned as it is for Neville Goddard and Joseph Murphy. It's just the way everybody has, we love different music, we love different teaching. That's why it's great to have an abundance of teachers, because we can learn a lot from each one of them. And that being said, the better feeling thought it is, and one of the reasons also why I'm a fan of Abraham Hicks to a certain extent is because she prescribes not the meditation, because meditation for Joseph Murphy is mostly when he talks about praying and visualization and changing your thoughts, which also is meditation. But Abraham Hicks talks about meditation in the way that Buddhists talks about meditation, which is letting go and clearing the mind and being still. She's very accurate when she talks about meditation. In that way, I mean. So I agree that there's two things I really like about Abraham Hicks, is the meditation part, and the second part, which is the one you use mostly throughout the day when you're aware, is the better feeling thought. Instead of being always happy, always trying to be happy, you just choose a better feeling thought. Or because of the meditation you have done in the morning, even for a short amount of time, you released resistance. And I have verified it because I made meditating for years on end. When you release resistance in the morning, you will see that the meditation and the awareness of that present meditation you did in the morning will carry out throughout the day. Now, it doesn't mean that you will not have negative thoughts and feeling. However, it's much easier to let them go and to go towards a better feeling thought. And by going to a better feeling thought, it's like if you are depressed, for example, you go to the feeling that feels a bit better. By counter example, if you are depressed, you won't tell yourself, "Oh, I'm super happy." It's just too far away. But if you are depressed, you can tell yourself, for example, it's getting better. And that's what Joseph Murphy said. I'm feeling better. It's all good. That's what I do actually. When I'm feeling very overwhelmed with all unwholesome negative thought, which is rare, but it still happens, I would, generally speaking, the feeling has always a manifestation in the body, which for me is generally, and a lot of people, is in the stomach region. So I would put my hand on my stomach and caress it in a circular motion, and tell myself it's all good, it's all right, it will pass. And lo and behold, it fades really well. And Abraham Hicks talks about taking a nap when you are overwhelmed, and that works too, if you can. But during the day I just don't feel sleepy enough, so I just let it go, surrender. In a very David Hawkins way, I just surrender. By surrendering, you just okay if it stays, okay if it's not, doesn't stay. And back to Joseph Murphy, his way of dealing with fear is the same way I just described it, but with a more, how should I put it, Catholic, religious vernacular, which is cool. It just means that we have to trust in ourselves and trust in life and trust that God is with us and within us. And if for those of you who have read Letting Go by David Hawkins or any other works by David Hawkins, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When we are trustful in our lives, when we are trustful in ourselves, we're in a higher vibration. When we don't trust, when we have fear, we are in a low vibration. Therefore, as he said, we emotionalize our negative thoughts with fear, and we make what we fear come about. The same as we can make the positive things we want with our lives by thinking positive thoughts, affirming them, and having positive emotions. Not that positive emotions with positive thoughts is the only way of doing it. You can just write it down, you can do affirmation. Obviously you need conviction. That's what he said, and that's very accurate. I love that he said either you must have joyous expectancy or confident expectancy. And by confidence, you don't need to believe it 100%, but because you won't necessarily believe it 100% because it's not true yet, and your sense deny it, as Neville Goddard would say it. But you can say them anyway. That's why when you do your affirmations, it is the best time to do it is in a state akin to sleep or when you meditate. Why? Because your senses are shut down. Therefore, you have your awareness, your I amness is at its strongest, so to speak. So, when it comes to fear, you have to wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night and throughout the day. Not let fear grip you. And obviously it takes time. But by impregnating your subconscious mind with new thoughts of bravery, of courage, of trust, of faith, and by virtue of meditating, that will help. There's many ways to go about it, and I won't go into it because I think I went a bit too far this time, and I apologize for this, but I think what I said and what I read is very, very useful, at least from a concept and a mindset standpoint. There is many techniques, and I have made many videos about fear, so you can check them out, but this is very practical as well. You have to deal with the mindset and understand every time I used to listen to a lot of conference and talks and read about fear, it's always so liberating when you read about it, because you feel and you really fathom and understand to your very core that fear is just, as Joseph Murphy said in this text, that it's man-made. It's completely self-manufactured. So if it's self-manufactured, we can get rid of the fear. Doesn't mean that it will be easy. It is a very simple concept. It might take time because this fear is fabricated by the media, it's fabricated later on by our minds, and we have to let go of it and replace it with thoughts of courage, first and foremost. That's why it's good to rid yourself of news, rid yourself of negative books, rid yourself of negative music, and I have to say this, you rid yourself of negative people, those people who will perpetuate the fear in your life, with conversations about fear, with being scary all the time around you. That energy is contagious. Positive energy is contagious, but negative energy is contagious too. So first, when it comes to the mindset of courage, you have to let go of all these fearful thoughts and all these fearful words and all these fearful people. Let them go. Your life will be much better just by doing this. But I digress. I'm gonna end it here. Thank you so much for listening. My information is in the description box below, my coaching information. I have a few books on Amazon if you want to check them out. And please comment if you have any question, or please comment just to help me. That would be nice too. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you very soon.